I think this is the second week in a row where I've started on mute. So thank you guys for calling me out. Let me know if you can hear me at the moment. No audio? Do we still have no audio or okay. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. Yes. Once again, started the live stream on mute as per usual. I think this is going to be my MO going forward. So, yeah, appreciate you guys calling me out. What I was saying when you didn't hear me was I'm just amazed by how many people there are in the stream that are not from the US. And so we've got Italy in the chat, we've got Serbia in the chat, we've got the UK in the chat. Where else is everybody from? We've got France in the chat as well. Curious where the rest of the group is. Canada, Tennessee. I think we're outnumbered. I think the US folks are probably outnumbered by the Europeans. Poland. That's right, Monique, Poland, you mentioned that. Um, Jen is also in the UK. Ooh, we got Mexico. Okay. Welcome. Another fellow North American, Central American. Um, yeah, we take over the NBA. Exactly. Exactly. So, well, good of you guys to join me. Thank you again for being here. Today's session, we were just going to have a casual conversation, and wanted to frame this conversation with for anyone who's just getting started or anyone who's apprehensive about starting or maybe feeling stuck in the early stages of growing your YouTube channel. We had a really good conversation on Tuesday for anyone that was able to join the live stream with Rob the Maritimer. He had a panel which included myself. And let me know in the comments, were you able to watch any of that live stream? Because I had a ton of fun doing it. And I feel like it was a really helpful conversation. The only regret I have from Tuesday's live with Rob was that there were a lot of questions in the chat that we did not get to because we were just going back and forth in the with the panel. So I did pull in some questions that I noticed, and I'll do my best to try and field those on today's live. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Just put a I think the best practice is to put some cues in front of your question, and I'll do my best to try and find those. Um, I'm not the best at managing the chat, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm still new to live streaming. I'm still trying to feel this whole thing out. My technology did partially fail on me just before the live stream. My Stream Deck is not working, so I'm gonna have to manually switch scenes. Um, but yeah, thank you guys for being here. And any questions that you've got for doing YouTube or doing a YouTube business, just getting started, no question is off the table. I will also couch this conversation by saying I'm not an expert. My backstory is I've been doing YouTube for the last 11 months, roughly. And prior to that, I didn't really have any experience with video. I never did a live stream before in my life. And in fact, the prospect of doing a live stream is still somewhat terrifying to me. So be gentle, you guys. But okay, I think we got a question here from Ron. Put this here on the screen. Uh, before your quest is standard. What do you mean, Ron? I'm not sure I understand the question. Yeah, Nicola, your question didn't get answered on Tuesday. Yeah, I suspect many people's questions did not get answered. So, oh yeah, okay. So you're just making the point, Ron, that putting that before is standard. Perfect. Appreciate that. But Nicola, if you had a question that you were asking and you didn't get an answer for it, let me know. I'll do my best. This will be the Ty Myers version of the answer. I know, of course, Rob and Brian have their own lens, and so does Alexa as well. Um, so yeah, what I was saying is I'm certainly not an expert, and I sometimes don't always have the best advice, which is why I love having a community and hearing from other people and getting a lot of other input and perspectives because I know it's so important to capture a lot of different perspectives. So yeah, I'll do my best, and I'm really good at Google, by the way, really good at ChatGPT, and really good at Google. Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. For 11 months, doing really well. Yeah, I mean, There was a question in the chat from Tuesday that was along the lines of like, how long does it take to get good at YouTube or to get better on camera? I think is how the question was phrased. And maybe I'll try and tackle that question because I don't think that there's necessarily a length or a number of videos to post. It's different for everybody, and some people have different comfort with being on camera than others. But I will tell you, for me, um, prior to YouTube, I didn't have any experience with video to the extent that I was talking to a camera. It was like a computer webcam when I was doing work calls. But yeah, I was it's just it's difficult, it's hard, and it's awkward, and for a lot of newer folks, those beginning videos are definitely a little jarring and uncanny, and, it's just difficult to feel your way through it unless you're really, really knowledgeable and passionate about your topics, and you're kinda just riffing, and you're not referencing your script very often. Then I think for me at least, the first 20, 30 videos were not super comfortable, but it does in time get better. At least that's been my experience. So for anyone out there who's worried about being on camera or who's feeling awkward about being on camera, just know that the more you do it, the easier it will become. So that would be my answer to that question. Nicola, I think here's your question. I just started here over a month ago. I post on cooking. It's already growth because the community just okay, 150 subscribers. Well done. Congratulations. And each video is growing steadily. But I'm thinking now if live will help me grow. My answer, and for you guys in the chat too, I would love for you to weigh in with your opinions on some of these questions if you have them. I know Don's answer to this question, but my answer is absolutely try to do a live stream. If you feel ready and comfortable, by no means, don't hold yourself back. It's definitely a different forum if you've not done one before, but it's a really great way to, I think, initially, especially when your channel is small, to work through some of the technical adjustments that you'll have to make to get familiar with live streaming and doing it in a very low pressure environment because you don't have that many viewers coming in. So it's not like you're letting a bunch of people down if you make a mistake, if your audio is not good, if you haven't figured out the software. So doing it when you're small is smart because you get better at it and you're doing it in a low pressure situation. But also it is a super amazing way of connecting with your audience and letting people get to know you a little bit. Sometimes when we get on camera and we make a long form video, again, speaking from my experience, sometimes we pretend to be somebody that we're not and we come off rigid and stiff and we don't have a personality on camera. But when we're doing a live and there's no formal structure and people are just asking you questions or you're just sharing something, maybe you're demoing a recipe that you're working on, then your personality gets to come out. People get to know you a little bit. They get to hear more about your backstory, what makes you tick. And then you become much more relatable and people can connect with you. So, absolutely, I would say dive in and test out a live stream if you're feeling ready for it. And yeah, Don says yes. Very pro live stream. And Don, I need to thank you too because it's partly your insistence too in the community about doing live streams and some of the success we've seen with other folks that really encouraged me to want to do more of this. And so thank you for being such an advocate for doing those live streams. Follow-up question, Nicholas, should you strictly do cooking only? It's a good question. I think if your channel is primarily based around cooking and education around cooking, then you should probably stick loosely to that topic. But if you have a story that you can tell that is helpful to your viewers that kind of relates to cooking in some way, then at that point, I think you take some liberties and talk to people and just see what's on their mind. And in live streams, obviously, the conversation can go anywhere. If you have a lively Q&A in the chat and people are asking you questions that are off topic, then I certainly feel like you've got more than ample room to answer those questions. The purpose of a live stream really is for community building, I think. It's not to stay rigidly to specific topics. So, yeah, just kind of go with the flow. At least that's been my experience. Um, but if you guys have other thoughts or other takes on that, let me know in the comments because I'm curious too how you guys feel about that. Yeah, and then Monique, sometimes time zones are an issue, right? Doing a live stream when your viewers are not on doesn't necessarily yield good viewership or good participation. So it is a good call out. Yeah, Dodd bullying me. Yeah, I mean, I do remember. I think it was you, right? In some of my comments, kind of like nudging me to do a live stream. So, yeah, that was earlier in the year, and I think there's a lesson there. You guys start before you're ready. You hear people talk about that all of the time. Even if you don't feel ready to do a live stream, just try it anyway because you never know. You might really, really like it. And you guys, I want to show you something because this might blow you away. I'm going to show you somebody that we work with, and Don, I think, already knows where I'm going with this. But let me show you this woman who she started to do live streams maybe 6 weeks ago, and her channel's blowing up because one, she's awesome, and two, people love her live streams. So for those of you who know Ellen, she has a channel called Ellen's Healthy Kitchen, and she has really good long form videos. She posts about one video a week, roughly, and she's got about 7,000 ish subscribers, coming up on 7,000. And so you can see she gets really good views on her long form cooking videos. So, again, going back to cooking, she does a lot of whole foods, plant based, oil free, seed oil free, and she's just got tons of energy. So, not only are her long forms really good and compelling, but look at this. She has a live stream that has 45,000 views on it. 45,000 views on a live stream right down here from 3 weeks ago. I mean, I don't even have long form videos that get that many views. So, for those of you who are working towards your watch time hours, live stream is an amazing way to build onto your watch time because if you need to get to 4,000 for your monetization, that could be a strategy that you take. Now, of course, this doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful. Live streaming is a skill that you have to get good at over time. Someone like Ellen, she's just a natural because she loves to talk and she's so passionate and people vibe with her. So I wouldn't expect her results to be something you can expect, but I just want to show you what's possible with a live stream. After watching some of her lives and seeing her success, I'm almost encouraging her to do 2 to 3 live streams per week in the morning, just do an hour, 2 to 3 times per week, and maybe don't even do long forms or do long forms twice a month because the long forms require all this editing. The live streams just require some preparation in advance. So they don't require any editing after the fact. And if editing is holding you back, then live streams could be a really great forum for getting comfortable talking to camera, building the community, learning from your community, and also working towards your watch time hours. Now, the subscribers don't really come in that much from live streams, but it's a really good way to build that community and really harness the power of a following. So, anyways, I show this example because I think it's a wonderful illustration of how live streams can really help out a channel. Let me see if I've missed any questions. Stand by. Okay, so living with Parkinson's says here, let me switch screens here again. I was afraid of going live at first because of my speech impediment and the tremors, but I went ahead and did it and I love doing live streams. So that's a really amazing example of overcoming a fear or an apprehension to do something for fear of other people's opinion or judgment. But so number one, I applaud you. I think that's amazing. Congratulations on doing that. And I hope you do many more. And what you might find is in time, you start to build a community around your channel, regardless of whatever perceived communication issues you might have, because you're speaking from the heart and you're providing value and you're out there to help other people who are maybe in your situation. So I love that. Congratulations. That's a big first step for a lot of people. Yeah, and then Nicola says 80% of your viewers are from the US. So how do you manage the timing of your live streams? That's a good question. I don't know. You may consider trying to do lives at a regular hour in your time zone, and maybe what you'll find is you get people in your time zone who join, people local to you, people maybe outside of the US based audience. So I think, Nicola, did you say you're in Italy? Did you say you're in Italy? I can't remember where you're coming in from, but give it a shot because you never know. And again, you can get good practice. And then if you really find like, hey, no one's joining my live streams, then maybe you might have to try and do it at an odd hour, either early in the morning or later at night when most of your viewers are on, assuming that fits your schedule and lifestyle and that live streams are something you really want to explore. Okay, so Raising Horses asks a question. What software or gizmo do you need to do a live stream? So, great question. My first live streams, I didn't have any extra software. I just used the native YouTube live streaming platform, which is pretty basic. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. It gets the job done for sure. And all of Ellen's, the creator I just mentioned, who has 45,000 views on her live, she just uses the native YouTube live stream platform. So, number one, you don't need anything to get started. But right now, I use Ecamm Live, which is a dedicated streaming software, and it's for Mac. So I have a MacBook, and it's an application on my Mac, and it connects to your YouTube, and essentially gives you this nice interface that you can. Here, I'll take a screenshot of it, and I'll show you what it looks like for anyone who's interested. Give me 1 second here. So here's what Ecamm looks like. This is the interface. Hopefully you can see this okay. And of course, it's me with a really goofy face on. But here's the interface. It's basically this is like what you guys see on the live stream. It's just me and then the question. But down here, all of the other controls. And then here is the live chat on the right side. So I can see all of your questions, all of your comments, and it gives me a way of interacting with you in real time. And then it gives me a way of controlling the camera, the audio, the different scenes that I have set up. It lets me bring in a comment onto the screen so you can see the comment or the question. So it's actually a really clean and simple to use interface. There is a monthly fee associated with it. I pay $20 a month to use this. But I think it's a really, for those of you who are really interested in live streaming and you want to maybe do it on a regular cadence, I think it's a really good platform to explore because it's really simple. There's free options like OBS. If you've heard of OBS before, it's open source. You can use it on any platform. For me, though, it was a little bit more complicated to learn. So that's why I leaned into something a little simpler like Ecamm. But hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, live streaming's fun and it gives me another way of talking to you guys and getting some more content out each week without having to worry about the hassle of editing videos because that can become a bottleneck for a lot of people. So yeah, I think it's a great thing to explore. Yeah, so Ron, I know you asked if Ecamm is free. So hopefully my previous explanation helped out there. Yeah, so I hear good things about OBS, and I know a lot of people use it. Don, I know you've experimented with OBS too. You've kind of tinkered around with it. Um, and I think a lot of people get started with OBS and they can make it work for them. I don't know. I'm a little impatient and I didn't watch any tutorials on how to learn it. So yeah, Ron, I want to know maybe what's your experience with OBS? Did you have a tough time learning it or was it pretty easy for you? There's just like a ton. There's a ton of options out there, I think. There's StreamYard. Um, I think Riverside is another option. And Don, I think recently you found one too. I can't remember the name of it. Oh, there it is. Meld. Yep, that's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, good catch. Good catch. Yeah, the key to OBS is setting up your scenes also known as presets. That's basically what I have here. So what you're looking at right now, this talking head, is scene number one for me. And then scene number two is this, where it's me much smaller, but then I have my desktop sharing. So if I want to share something and show you guys something, I can do that. Scene number three is a bit of a mix. It's me on the left side and then my smaller screen on the right side. And then scene number four is just my desktop full screen. So if I'm demoing something, you have a much easier way of seeing it. And then scene at number five is the cooldown or the countdown that I made for before the stream starts. I need to get some music to play with it because I don't have any music yet. Aha, you work in AV. Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's what's so interesting, you guys, about YouTube is there are so many disciplines that come into play when you're doing content creation. And the live streaming portion of it where you have different scenes and different graphic overlays and lower thirds and all of these different things that add visually to your presentation, that in it of itself is its own. I mean, you can get a degree in that. You can make a career out of that. So it's pretty wild that a lot of these, what were, maybe 10 years ago, professional grade tools have made their way down to the sole creator, the individual creator in their home studio. So it's a bit of a trip to get to play with all of these things. OBS is quirky sometimes to get your camera to work properly. You know what I've noticed about OBS, and maybe you guys who are using it can help me out. I've noticed that the audio and the video don't always sync up. And I've seen that there are tutorials that you have to adjust the delay by like zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.5 milliseconds to get the audio and video to line up. Have you had that experience with OBS? Because I think with something like Ecamm, it does that automatically. It like syncs it for you, which is nice. So you got the Pocket 3 for webcam. Nice. I'm just using my iPhone 15, by the way. And I also do have my Camera 2, which is my MacBook webcam, which is not super great. So I prefer to use my iPhone 15. Creator Mix for music. So that, Monique, is that where you get music to use on your videos and things like that? I'd be curious. I know there's a lot of different platforms out there for music, isn't there? And YouTube actually, I think they're working on AI generated music for creators. I don't have access to that, but they do have a music library and they have free music in there. There's paid music in there. And I think eventually they might get to a point where you give it the vibe of your video and it can generate AI music for you, which is pretty wild, you guys. Pretty wild. Yeah, Suno's pretty popular. You know who uses Suno is Nanad. So Liquid Hour D&B. He uses Suno for his music, and he's got an amazing YouTube channel that has all of this great liquid drum and bass music. So if you're a fan of the genre, you can definitely check out his channel, and he live streams. He has individual mixes, individual tracks, and it's all AI generated. So it's all 100% copyright free, and it's just a really great vibe and experience if you love that style of music. Something you can put on in the background as you're doing chores or studying or writing, whatever it is. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So Monique says Creator Mix is Nick and D Nimmons and it's free. That's interesting. I'll have to check that out. I've been reluctant. Maybe you guys tell me in the chat, do you put music in your videos? Like, do you give a music bed or do you not put music in your videos? Because I, for the longest time, never put music in my videos because I was always worried that people might want to play my videos at like 1.2x speed or 1.5x speed. And the music might sound really bad in that environment. So I worry about that, but maybe that's not a valid concern. Let me know if you're using music in your videos. Ron's asking, how often do I live stream? Lately, I've been doing it every single week. I've given myself a schedule where every Monday I'm going to post a long form video, and every Thursday I'm going to do a minimum 1 hour live stream. And I've been sticking to that schedule for the last 5, 6 weeks, maybe long, maybe about 5, 6 weeks. Yeah. And, I'm just getting in the reps, getting in the practice, feeling it out, trying to get better at it, trying to, field more questions and, see if I can do right by you guys and help out in any way I can. So I'm going to do this for the foreseeable future and see how it goes. So thank you for the question. And if you have any feedback or thoughts on things that I might think about to make the live streams more interesting for you guys, just let me know because I would love to hear your feedback. Ooh, you created 8 songs last night. Okay, tell us the genre and what are the songs for? For videos or for just pleasure? I'm curious. Nicola says, I'm learning things I never knew I needed to hear. I think that's a good thing. Hopefully it's a good thing. What's up, Steve? Welcome. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Good to have you in the chat. I hate not using real artists that I can't encourage. Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. If I'm understanding your comment correctly, it's how do you feel about using AI generated music when you could be using artist created music and be supporting them? It's a great question. I'm curious what you guys think philosophically about this AI revolution that we're undertaking, where even B roll and icon assets, still images could all be AI generated, which in a way puts money in the pockets of the AI companies, but takes money away from the true photographers and videographers and songwriters because their content's not getting used. It's an interesting place that we're in right now. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah, Steve says I rarely use music, but when I do, it's from the YouTube library. And I also okay, so you worry about people watching your videos at 2x speed as well. Yeah, I have that same concern. I'm not sure if people do that often, and if they do, how the audio sounds. So I've been reluctant. Plus, it's kind of a pain in the butt to look for music that fits the vibe of the video, and then to place it in there, and to get the levels right, and then to like mix it right. So, hey Jordan, welcome. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Ron is asking another question. Do you have a backlog of videos you are ahead of yourself for Monday's long form? At the moment, Ron, the honest answer is no. Today, I need to make a video for posting on Monday, but I actually have a video that I've already recorded. It's just a quick tutorial, but I wasn't planning on making that my Monday video. But in a perfect world, if and when I stick to my schedule, I will every every other week roughly, I'll write 2 to 3 full scripts, and then I'll attempt to film 2 to 3 full videos and get the writing and the filming done. And then what I'll do is I'll take my time a little bit with the editing and hopefully schedule my videos out 2 to 3 weeks ahead. A couple weeks ago, I was 3 weeks ahead, which meant I didn't have to film at all for 3 weeks. But now I'm at the end of that 3-week period, and now I have to again do another round of batching. So actually, that's another question. I'm glad you asked because that's another question that came up on Tuesday's live stream. So for those of you who don't know what batching is, it's essentially just performing the same task for multiple videos in one sitting. So imagine you have 4 hours on a Monday morning and you want to get ahead on content. Maybe you spend 2 hours writing video A and then 2 hours writing video B. And now what you have is 2 full scripts done. And then on Tuesday, you have another 4 hours and you say, okay, I'm going to film both of these videos. And assuming you're doing educational content or talking head content like what I do, you can literally sit down, film the first video, get through it, as awkward and painful as it will be. And then once that's done, you then film the second video. And that way you are essentially doing the same type of work. So you're kind of in that flow state of doing that same type of work. And now what you have by Wednesday is you have two full videos recorded. Now, of course, you need to edit them and you need to do thumbnails and all of the other stuff. But at least you've gotten a lot of the more intensive work done. And then what you can do is maybe like Wednesday, Thursday, you can work on the editing for the first video and then get it scheduled. If it's going to post on Friday, cool, or Monday, whatever. And then the following week, you can then work on editing that second video and getting that scheduled 2 weeks out. So I think it's a good best practice, assuming you have the time and you have the video ideas and topics to work on. Because, in my opinion, and this is my experience, when you have content scheduled out a couple weeks ahead, it really takes a lot of the pressure off of trying to scramble from week to week to get a video done because oftentimes our deadlines creep up on us a lot quicker than we anticipate. And then we scramble and then we're in a negative headspace and the video might not come out that great. So, if you work best in the morning, try to carve out a few hours in the morning to get some of that more focused work done, the writing portion of it, the ideation portion of it, and the filming portion of it. And then that gives you some time, it gives you some runway to try and take your time with some of the other elements, and then this way you're not stressing out. So that's something I'm trying to get better at. I'm trying to work my schedule in a way where I can do that more often. However, the one caveat would be if something strikes you in the moment, if there's a surge of inspiration or if there's a topic that you just learned about and you want to make a video on it, then make the video. Like record it, write it, record it, and then post it if you want to post it immediately. That's what I did yesterday. I posted a video on Wednesday, which is normally not my posting day, but I just felt so impassioned to make the video and to post it that I did. But I'm still on schedule to make another video for Monday and then keep my Thursday live stream intact. So hopefully that wasn't too much of a ramble on that question, but I think there's a lot of value in batching. Prodigal, not a question, but if you do live streams, set them up so the live chat replay is enabled. Yes, it makes watching after the event even more engaging. 100%. I think that's something I've seen a few people miss is the live stream will just post as a regular video on demand and you can see the comments, but you don't get to see the live chat. And that's where all the fun is. That's where all the magic happens. So great observation, great call out. And I think it's just a quick checkbox that you need to check off. Lauren, hey, welcome. Lauren Self Love Studio. I love the name. Hey, Ty, new fan of yours after seeing you on Rob's Live. I'm a newer tuber, still building my channel, learning and applying. It's been so much fun and a big lesson every day. Thanks for all your support. Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on getting started. I hope you're enjoying it because YouTube can be a blast. It could also be a slog. It just depends. But yeah, good on you for getting going and best of luck to you out there. Okay, so here's an interesting use case for Suno. Did a video referencing the 1983 Scarface video song "Push It to the Limit," and you used 1980s AI prompt. It's unreal. Interesting. Yeah, instrumental, of course, because you don't want lyrics being sung in the song. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ways to like borrow elements or styles from artists into AI generated music, which again begs the question: what model, like what was the data that these models are trained on? Was it trained on copyrighted music? I don't think we know the answer to that question, or maybe you know. I'm not sure. Carolyn, I see that you have to bail. Good to see you. Congratulations on everything. Raising horses, you have to go as well. Yep, no problem. And then Jen says that, yeah, I've never thought about people watching at 2x speed when there's music and what it would sound like. So, Jen, maybe the next time you watch a video that has music in it, play it at 1.5 or 2x speed, and then ask yourself, how does this sound? Does it sound good or bad? And if it doesn't bother you, then more power to you. But I don't know. It might be a weird situation. Okay, question from Jen. I get stuck on thumbnails. It's my biggest block and frustration. Do you have any advice, tips on how to get ideas for them? That is a great question. So, um, I think what you can probably do is, what thumbnails are you attracted to? And maybe just take screenshots of some of those thumbnails. So if you're on YouTube, we'll pull in YouTube really quick here, you guys. So if you're on your browse screen and you're just kind of poking around on YouTube and you see a thumbnail that you really, really like, now assuming it's a thumbnail that your skill level can create, then you might want to just borrow some elements from it. So maybe it's this one over here. You really like the simplicity of it. It's just a guy in the middle with one word. The word is tucked beneath him, or behind him, I should say. And he's outside and it's a blurred background. So one thing you can do is just kind of grab a screenshot and then create a collection of different thumbnails that inspire you. And then that way, what you can do is when you have to make a thumbnail, you can be like, okay, well, let me go back to my repository of all the thumbnails that I've collected and try to draw some inspiration from some of those. But I would say less is more with thumbnails. You don't really need to have a ton of stuff in here. So again, this is another example right here. This starting over at 31. It's just the guy sitting in the middle. It's his living room in the background, and he's got simple text at the top. A lot of these are really simple. Here's another one. The mindset shift that changed everything. This has to stop. And it's just her. It looks like she's out for a walk or a hike potentially. Here's another one. Just the guy in the middle. The painting doesn't move. I don't really know what that means, but very simple text, very simple style. For me personally, that's kind of what attracts me to very simple, very easy to read thumbnails. But I would say if you're having a hard time, there are a lot of thumbnail tutorials out there. I've actually made one myself. So if you check my channel and you just look for thumbnails, I'll see if I can find it. And I don't like to plug my own stuff, but this one right here, my simple thumbnail, how I make clean looking thumbnails in 3 minutes. So it's basically a step-by-step guide on how you can make thumbnails. So take a look at that if you need some inspiration, but I would say less is more. Keep it simple, keep it clean, keep the idea front and center. Don't have too many distracting elements or distracting text. Just keep it real basic. Okay, let me catch up here on the comments. Yes. Great call out. Prodigal says, if Jen was in the midlife creator community, she could watch the replay of our group call yesterday. So Don, you're teeing me up. You're teeing me up for a shameless plug. So here's the plug, you guys. If anyone's interested, and of course, no pressure. This is just me advertising the community that I'm a part of. It's called the Midlife Creator Community, and it's for anyone who needs help starting and growing a YouTube channel. We've got almost 100 people in it right now, and it's free. You can join. There's no cost to it. And we just kind of hang out and we post questions and we ask for feedback and we share our wins and what's working. And then we meet twice a week. We get on a group call like a Google Meet. And every other week we talk about titles, topics, thumbnails. Yesterday on our call, one of our community members, Nanad, he gave us a really nice tutorial on how to think about thumbnail design conceptually because it's important to get the psychology right to make sure people click. So that is in our classroom as a call as a replay that you can watch. So Don, I appreciate you plugging the community. If anyone's interested, I'll put the link in the chat. Again, no pressure. No pressure at all. But actually, this brings me to another question that was asked on Tuesday on Rob's live stream. It was how do you find YouTube friends? It was like, how do you find a support group or people that can cheer you on or people that you can cheer on? And so I think it's really, really important to find people who are going through the same types of growing pains that you might be going through as a brand new creator, because doing YouTube alone can be very hard. And yes, there's a lot of videos you can watch online on how to do YouTube, but it's one thing to get education, it's another thing to get communal support and help with implementation. I think implementation is the thing that most people struggle with. It's like, how do I take the knowledge that I'm learning through this content? How do I apply it to my videos and my channel? And that's where having a support group comes in, right? So you can ask them questions. You can share, hey, I'm working on this title and thumbnail. Do you have any feedback for me? What would you do differently? Would you click on it? And yeah, as you can see here, there's just a lot of activity in the community. And so if anyone's interested, feel free to click the link and jump on in. Let's see. Who, what other questions do we have? So Jen just asked about the mid. Okay, so I just answered that question. Hey, Rhonda, welcome. She has a really cool channel name, Midlife Rhonda Vu, because her name is Rhonda. I really like that. I don't know why. I mean, it's cool. Arthur, afternoon. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the compliment. That's very lovely to hear. Don and our shameless plugs. Not really shameless, are they? I mean, we're good with it. But yeah, so you guys, for anyone who's joined in the last maybe 20, 30 minutes or so, the purpose of today's conversation was for anyone who's new out there, who's either looking to get started on YouTube and hasn't quite posted their first video yet, or if you're just starting out and you maybe feel like you're struggling a little bit, I wanted to create a space and a conversation for anyone to ask questions, ask for feedback, ask for support, and I'll do my best to provide hopefully a good answer for you and maybe point you in the right direction for resources and things like that. So if you got anything that's on your mind, feel free to throw them in the chat. One thing I hear people talk about a lot, and tell me if you guys vibe with this, is some people get a little frustrated early on within the first few months of doing YouTube because they don't see the traction that they want on their channel in terms of views and subscribers. Um, I always try to remind people to be patient, because a lot of what you're doing early on is it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? I mean, I know that's an overused expression, but it is so true on YouTube, because there's so many different disciplines that you're trying to learn and understand and just get a handle on. And then not only are there all these technical things to work through, but you have to really start to crystallize your message and the purpose of your videos, the purpose of your channel, what you're looking to solve or what goals you have. And I think for a lot of people starting out, a lot of those things are a bit opaque or muddy and not super clear. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're not quite sure what your goals are, or you're not quite sure who your target viewer is, I would just remind you that that's okay. You don't have to have that locked in stone from day one, but try to work towards having a more clear vision of who that might be. Because as you develop a more refined definition of that person or the mission of your channel, then I think your messaging will get better, and the way you communicate and talk to people will become more refined and more clear, and you'll probably ramble less, you'll probably be more succinct with your messaging, and you'll really get a good idea of what problems you can help people with. So number one, just be patient if you're feeling like things are slow in the beginning. And then number two is just remember that with anything that's difficult in life, it takes a long time to get good at YouTube. I tell people all the time, clients that I work with who have maybe been doing it for a couple months, one of the first questions I ask them is, are you prepared to do this for the next 3 to 5 years? You know, like, think about the level of work and effort that you're putting in this moment. You're probably hustling, you're probably posting one or two videos a week. Is that something you can sustain for the next 3 to 5 years before you start to see material traction on your channel. So that's a really important question to try and answer for yourself. And it kind of ties into this idea of sustainability and burnout. And how do you avoid burnout? And how do you continue to show up week after week and build a community and post good videos without overdoing it, without overexerting yourself? And that is a question that everyone has to answer differently. It just depends on your life situation, your circumstances, your job, your family. When I first did YouTube, I was working a full-time job and then I was doing YouTube on the side. I did that for 4 months and it was exhausting. And I was posting 2 videos per week. It was not fun. And if you ask me how I did it, I don't think I could give you a good answer. I was just working constantly and I was kind of like blocking everything else out. Social activities, even like things around the house didn't get done. Um, which is unfortunate, but it's a moment of sacrifice, right? So you really have to think about how to make it sustainable for you. And one thing I've learned to do is to not beat myself up if I miss a deadline, and also to be aware of when I need to take breaks, and also to be able to pivot from whatever strategy you're chasing if it means that you're working too hard. So for 7 months straight, I posted 2 videos per week. And then I hit a wall and I said, I can't do this anymore. It's too much. So I pivoted from 2 videos per week to one long form and to one live stream. And that has been way more manageable for me. So again, don't be afraid to experiment and try other content platforms or formats to again give yourself another shot at exposure, at community building, at getting better on camera, but without having the extra overhead of editing and things like that. So that's my very long-winded answer to that question. Steve says, how do you reduce the delay of live streaming? I just did a live stream yesterday and the delay was terrible. So Steve, I think what you're asking is when I ask a question, like how many seconds of a delay are there between me operating in real time to when you guys see it on the live stream? So there's a setting I'm going to show you. Let me share my screen really quick. Okay. Hopefully you can see this. So Steve, right down here at the bottom where it says stream latency, this is an option. I think by default it's set to normal, but you can set it to low latency or ultra low latency. And in theory, I think this is the controls. This will reduce the amount of time in seconds or milliseconds from what you're doing live to what your chat sees, if that makes sense. So I've changed mine to ultra low latency. Now, this might not work depending upon your bandwidth for your internet service provider, but I think so far so good for me. You guys tell me in the chat if the quality of the stream is okay. If it's not, then I would probably have to go back to low latency or normal latency to make sure that the quality of the stream is not jeopardized. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Yeah, good call out here. A good way to get traction is to be active in the comments of YouTube and on live streams. That can help bootstrap your channel early on. That's a really good call out. So, one thing I did when I was brand new is I would watch other content creators who were making videos on how to grow on YouTube, and I would add to their comments in their videos. And sometimes people would look at my comment and they'd be like, "Oh, that's an interesting comment." They'd click on my channel and then they would say, "Oh, this guy makes videos about how to grow on YouTube as well. Let me watch one or two." And then they end up subscribing. So it's a very, very interesting call out. And what you'll find in time, depending upon your niche, you might start to see a lot of the same people show up in the comments and show up in the live streams. And that's a really good sign that you're part of a bigger community. And if you have the inclination to want to speak up and add to the conversation, that will help you get some exposure and some visibility. I love that. Let me just catch up on the chat here. I think we're good. Okay, Nicola has to take off. Yep, see you next Thursday. Joining the community, love it, love it. Steve, welcome. I am well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you asking. Hope you are well as well. Well as well? That sounded weird. So, another question, you guys, that came up on Rob's live stream was this one here. Like, how do you decide if you're supposed to use a teleprompter or riff or use bullet points or try to read a script word for word? And I think this is a great question for newer folks because you have a lot of options and sometimes it's not always clear how to pick a format or pick a style. And the one thing I would suggest initially is I would encourage you to experiment, try a bunch of different ways of delivering to camera. I've tried not scripting at all and just pressing record and just start talking. And some of my videos of me on the roof are of me doing that. Other times I have created on a piece of paper, like on a piece of paper, I'll create a rough outline of what I want to say. And then I'll just put that somewhere beneath the camera. And that will help me to stay on track with the topics. Um, that's a pretty easy and low friction way of recording a video. Another way is to type out your script word for word and then try to deliver a line at a time. That is very hard to do. So number one is you got to like learn how to write in your own speaking voice, which can be a challenge. And then you have to learn how to edit your script so that you're succinct and direct and not adding too much fluff. And then when you sit down to record, the challenge is memorizing a line, delivering it to camera, memorizing another line, delivering it to camera, and then doing that for the full video. And that can be challenging. And I'm curious for you guys in the chat, how do you deliver to camera? Are you using a teleprompter? Are you using the memorize deliver format I just mentioned? Are you doing bullet points? Curious how you guys are doing it. But I've also tested a teleprompter as well. I think for one of my earlier streams, I had the Elgato prompter and I had my iPhone behind the prompter, and it worked quite well, but it was just a bit of a hassle because you kind of have to write for the teleprompter and then you have to just get really good at reading it. And I'm not super great at that. That, of course, in of itself is its own skill to develop. Some people love it, and some people are just like super robotic about it. So, but it's something you can get better at. And I think maybe in a future state, I might try it again. But for now, I feel like getting better at talking off the riff, like I'm doing now, is a skill that I want to work on and develop. So, there's all these different ways of doing it. Rachel says she uses bullet points for repots and script for talking head. Yeah, that's perfect. So a variety of delivery styles depending upon the video format, which is great. Steve says I struggle to remember my hook without scripting my entire video. I usually do bullet points mostly. Sometimes I get so philosophical and just wing it. Risk of talking too much. Yes, that is like the biggest downfall of doing an unscripted video is the stream of consciousness and just going down a tangent or a rabbit trail and then forgetting what point was I trying to make? Like, and then you kind of like, then you have to really stop and think for a minute. So definitely a risk. But yeah, thanks for sharing, Steve. That's good to know. Yeah, and that's the one thing too with hooks is it's always a good it's always a good idea to write out your hook word for word and try to deliver it word for word. And then if you want to do bullets or riff, that's cool too. But the hook's really, really important. Ivan Mike says bullet points or nothing. Extemporaneous, either way. Yeah. Good. More power to you. I love that. I think if you have the ability to just talk and you can craft a compelling narrative and stay on track and deliver a great message, I love that because those people are so interesting to listen to. I'm not particularly good at that most times. Sometimes I get lucky. Andrew says on his tutorial, by the way, welcome, Andrew. On my tutorial channel, I will sometimes use a teleprompter or memorize lines, but I like to just talk and have bullet points mostly. Yeah. I think most of us enjoy just trying to talk, but if it doesn't make for a great video, then yeah, it probably helps to try to stay to a script. Ron says there was a question above. She wanted to know how long can you stop posting a while because of burnout and not hurt your channel much? Well, first of all, apologies if I missed that question. I don't know how I missed it, but thank you for bringing it up, Ron. I appreciate that. Um, so the question is basically, if you take a break from YouTube and you don't post for a while, what are the implications? Well, that's a good question. I don't know that I know the answer to it because I haven't really been in that situation where I stopped posting for a while. I will tell you though, momentum, YouTube feels like a momentum based platform. So if you sort of pull the wind out of the sails, then it might be harder to get going again. You might have to put in a lot of effort up front to get the flywheel moving again, but that's not always true. And we can use someone like Alexa Saranoia as an example. If any of you know her and her story, she had a YouTube channel from years ago, and then she stopped posting on it. And then only a year ago, she started reposting, but she started posting about how to grow and start a YouTube channel. And her YouTube channel came back very rapidly and very quickly. It was a completely new audience from where she was before. So you can definitely revive an old channel and you can definitely keep posting on a channel where maybe you took a break. It just depends on the quality of the content and the topics if people are interested in those topics. So I don't know if there's really a right or wrong. If you guys have an opinion on that, let me know because I haven't experienced that myself. Nisha says she uses bullet points, hook and riff. I like it. Hook and riff. That's a good that's a good format. Ron says I stopped on one of my channels and the views have almost dropped to zero. Interesting. How long, Ron, have you stopped? And what kind of content is it on that channel? Because I've seen other channels, by the way, um, where they will post they've got videos that are more like evergreen style content. And this one person I'm thinking about, he took a break for like 3 months. He didn't post a single video over a 3 month period. And his channel actually grew more over that 3 months than the previous 3 months, just because the content he had on his channel was very search based and evergreen, and people were coming to YouTube looking for it. So he's getting a lot of views and subscribers from that. So I think it all depends. Arthur says, is $2.31 a decent amount for my channel? I present documentaries mainly about histories and politics. Oh, so your RPM is $2.31. I suspect that's on the lower end. I think my RPM is probably, if I'm remembering correctly, like $6 or $7. But the RPM, for those of you who don't know, this is the amount of money YouTube will give the creator through the AdSense revenue sharing. And it's largely contingent upon the niche that you're in and the style of video that you're making. That's the amount essentially advertisers are willing to pay to put ads on that style of video. So, like gaming channels, they don't tend to get high RPMs, but finance channels or real estate or investment channels, they tend to get higher RPMs because the advertisers will pay more to get their ads in front of those audiences. Audiences that have an older demographic also tend to have higher RPMs because older folks have more disposable money than the younger generation. But I would say 231 is probably on the lower end. Um, yeah, hopefully that answers the question, Arthur. Rachel mentioned she has taken a week or 3 off, but nothing more than that. After a year, I lost the 365 watch time counting hours. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's something to be mindful of for newer folks who are working towards monetization is it can be a challenge as you approach the 1 year mark if you don't already have 4,000 watch time hours because after 365 days, any watch time that you've earned prior to to when you started a year ago, you will lose that watch time. So you have to have an accumulated 4,000 watch time within a 1 year period. And so what you might find is you're over a year on YouTube and now you're losing watch time because the videos from a year ago no longer count. So in some ways, almost like sprinting or having a mad dash towards that threshold can be useful. And then you can sort of take your foot off the gas so that you're not burning yourself out. But it is definitely a struggle. And it's something that you have to kind of keep an eye on. And then, of course, a year later, chances are you're probably making better videos and getting more views and more watch time, anyways. So you might be out pacing the losing of watch time hours, if that makes sense. And then Steve says, I'm going on holiday next week and I've batched enough videos to do 2 per week as usual to keep the YouTube train going. Yeah, that's a great idea. So if you have upcoming things that are going to prevent you from working on YouTube, it's a good idea to get those batched ahead of time, get them scheduled ahead of time so that you can make sure you're not really missing on your schedule. I'll give you another an example too of batching, by the way, and tell me if this is useful for you guys. I'll share my screen and we'll come into my YouTube studio. So here are my community posts. You guys can see this, right? So do you see all of these community posts that say scheduled? These are things that I've created. I think I created about 10 YouTube community posts last week, and then I scheduled them out. So I have another one going live tomorrow, and then next week, two next week, two the week after, and then all the way through the end of June, I have community posts batched and scheduled. So this is great because now I don't have to think that much about what am I going to post on my community wall, right? I've got all of this stuff pre-created, ready to go. It's already scheduled. I don't even have to think about it. And then I'm just going to get a bunch of comments and responses that I can then interact with. So this is one example of batching your community posts. And you can use ChatGPT for help on that if you're stuck, give it some information about what you're working on, your channel. Hey, I need to come up with some ideas for community posts. Can you give me a couple of topics? And then you can work back and forth with ChatGPT to help craft some of those. Another thing I've done is I've batched several newsletter emails. So once a week, my goal is to send out an email to my email list to provide some value and to nurture them and to, just help them out. And I do that on Wednesdays. And now I have 4 emails fully drafted, ready to go. All I have to do is go into my email marketing tool and make sure that they're going out on the correct day. So I sat down one day last week and I knocked out 5 different emails to craft and write. And again, using ChatGPT for help, just to make sure I was 4 or 5 weeks ahead on email newsletters. So another example of batching. Yeah, Rachel, absolutely. You can schedule. That's what I love about the community posts. You can schedule them out in advance. So if you really want to get ahead of it, you can create months of community posts and you can spend a few hours, come up with 2 to 3 months worth of content and just get them scheduled. And now there's one less thing for you to have to work on throughout the week. Ron, I know you had to jump. Good to see you. Thank you for jumping in today. Monique, oh my gosh, good for you. My community posts are scheduled until the end of the year. That's impressive. That's impressive. Good on you. Chatty Cathy, interesting question. Does the community post count as one of the three notifications creators get in a day that go out to viewers? I don't know. Let me look that up. Let me look that up because I don't know the answer to that. So the question is there a number of notifications that content creators on YouTube can use per day? I don't know. I didn't even know that there was a limit. So here's what ChatGPT says, Chatty Cathy. Yes, YouTube imposes a limit on the number of notifications a channel can send to its subscribers, a maximum of 3 upload and live stream notifications per 24-hour period. So it seems to be upload and live stream. It doesn't seem to indicate anything about community posts. Again, this is ChatGPT giving us the answer, so take it with a grain of salt. So it says, no, YouTube community posts do not count towards the daily limit of your 3 notifications for uploads and live streams. However, it is important to note that community posts notifications are sent less consistently and are not guaranteed to reach all subscribers. Hopefully that answers your question, but I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even know that was a thing. Great question. Rachel's asking, is there a max to how many videos you can schedule in advance? Another great question. Let me let me ask our AI overlords. Is there a max to the number of videos you can schedule? Let's see what they say. So it says YouTube does not impose a specific limit on the number of videos you can schedule in advance. This flexibility allows you to plan and organize your content calendar according to your needs. Yeah. So hopefully that answers that question, Rachel. I never even thought to ask that question because I've never been good about posting more than 3 weeks out. But there are some channels out there that I've found where they'll post like 2 to 3 videos per day. And I don't know how the heck they do that. But if they are scheduling these things out weeks, months in advance, then yeah, they could come up on some sort of limit if there were one, but it doesn't seem like there are. Nanad, thank you again. A nice little plug here. uh, okay, Lego tours. Question is, I recently got a sponsor and they are sending free products. That's pretty cool. Should I say everything is good or also talk about the cons? Um, if they're just sending you stuff unsolicited and there's no contract or agreement, then I mean, well, so again, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. For anyone in the chat who's worked with brands or sponsors, and if you have knowledge or information on this, feel free to chime in and give us your thoughts and opinion. But I don't know. I would say just be honest and talk about what you think. good and bad. Now, I don't know if there are brands that reach out and say, "Hey, we want to pay you money. Can you plug this product? And you need to use this script or you need to use these talking points." That might be a thing, in which case you probably wouldn't want to go down a rabbit hole of talking bad about it. But I would just get back with the sponsor to learn more about if there's any stipulations. But also your channel name is interesting to me. I'm curious if you could tell us more about what your channel is about. Okay, Monique, another cool little mention here. I have over 100 shorts scheduled until August, thanks to Opus Clips. So you're just a content machine, is what it sounds like. You've got a system. You are batching your community posts, you are batching your short content. And I love that because you can do a lot of work up front and you can give yourself a lot of runway. I love that. That's great. Monique, if you have any other tips for things that you're batching, I don't know, are you on other socials like X or LinkedIn or TikTok? So I know a lot of people build these robust content, like the more tenured creators that are making a lot of money, they have these robust content teams that specialize on all of the socials and they do this like flooding of content. They're posting like 3 times a day and getting all this visibility and traction. But it seems like you've got a really good system. Yeah, and then Prodigal makes a great point. If and when you get a product from a sponsor and the only thing you do is talk glowingly about it, even if it's not a great product, then your viewers will quickly pick up on that and they'll just think of you as like some sort of shill for different brands. So, yeah. Yeah, pros and cons of the product. Yeah, Andrew makes a good point too. Yeah, I've seen creators do this in their videos. They'll say something like, today we're going to review this product, and maybe they have acquired it on their own. And they'll say, I'm going to do a comprehensive, honest review, good and bad, right? Alternatively, maybe they get a product from a sponsor and the sponsors, and basically they will say, hey, I got this from the sponsor, just so you know, but I'm still going to give you my honest take on it. And I'm going to give you the pros and the cons. I think being transparent is very, very helpful to the viewer. Yeah, Steve says you've gotten a lot of products. Yeah, this is all really good feedback, by the way. Thank you guys for chiming in because this is stuff I haven't worked through myself yet. But yeah, there may be like when you make your video, the sponsor might need to review it before you can publish the video, because if you take a giant poop on it, then they might be like, well, this isn't actually going to help us. So yeah, it's a balancing act. That is crazy. I've posted every day in 2025. You're gonna go a full year. More power to you, man. Good for you. Yeah, that's a lot. It is a lot. Lego tours, your niche is you do tours of my city and sets. Northern Ireland, where you're from. Cool. Oh, I love it. I might have to look at your channel. I'm still a kid. I still love Legos. I don't have any, but if and when I get a giant mansion one day, I'll have a one room just dedicated to Lego sets. Steve is asking, Ty, before you went all in on YouTube, How many videos did you do per week? I'm doing 2, but it's a lot to balance with work and family. Yeah, that's a great question. I had been for 7 months straight, I was doing 2 videos per week, and it's tough. And I was working full time for 4 months of that. So, I've stopped. I don't do 2 videos per week anymore. I do 1 video and I do a live stream. So if you think a live stream might work for you, Steve, for your niche and for your community, give it a shot. Because to my point earlier, when you do a live stream, you don't have to edit after the fact. And I'm making an assumption that editing is a big part of the time sink with doing your 2 videos. And then depending on your community and depending on the niche that you're in, there may not be a whole ton of work to be done up front in advance for your live stream. So again, it's trying to find this like balancing point of showing up consistently and trying to do right by your audience, but not always being in this mode of high effort content. And I know that sounds, you know, the idea of doing low effort content probably sounds bad, but in a way, exposure's good. Like if you look at Monique's example, she's got shorts scheduled for the rest of the year. She's got community posts scheduled for the rest of the year. And Monique, I don't want to undermine the effort you've put in, but chances are you're leveraging tools to help create all of that content. It's not like it's not like you're writing out every single community post on your own word for word. If you are, God bless you. Same thing with shorts, probably using something like Opus Clips, right? So in a way, it's like low effort, but it could still be very valuable to your viewer. And it's giving her all of these opportunities to show up on YouTube, in the shorts feed, in the community posts. So if you can try to figure out a way of showing up more often, but doing it in a lower friction environment, then I think that might help you with the sustainability of doing your YouTube channel. All right, Steve, good to see you, man. Thank you for hanging out. And then, oh, okay, so you did your first live. How did it go? Let me know your thoughts. Did you like it? Did people show up? How was the conversation? Yeah, the no editing thing is definitely a plus. Yeah, 2 plus. Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Everyone's got a different amount of time to do this YouTube thing. So whatever you can do where it doesn't burn you out. Again, going back to what I said earlier, imagine a 3 to 5 year project with YouTube. Consider the amount of work and hustle that you're putting in right now in this moment. Do you think you can sustain that for the next 3 to 5 years? If the answer is no, then work right now on finding a better balance. Hey Simon, good to see you. Welcome. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Good to see you, man. Appreciate you hanging out. Yeah. So Lego, great question. Is when you host your live streams, right? You're gonna get viewers coming in. You might see the same people week over week. And then as you join other live streams and participate in theirs, you might see a lot of the same people. So, yes, absolutely. There are people who love this forum of people going live and then people hanging out in the comments and chatting and getting to know each other and supporting each other. So, live streams is a whole separate, I think, avenue for exposure and being useful and community building. And it's lovely for you to join other people's live streams and they may be inclined to join yours as well. So it's this like reciprocal relationship. Like sometimes I'll join Rob the Maritimer's live stream and he'll jump in on mine every now and then. And then same thing with Ellen. So there's just a lot of community support when it comes to live streaming. Yeah, Simon says, "I love doing their exhilarating." Yeah, it's fun. I mean, you can get some energy from the people in the chat, and you feel good to be part of a community and a bigger conversation. So I agree, Simon. I think that's great. Steve, you had 5 people join. That's pretty cool. One of them was your wife being nosy. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, Lego, I think that's great. Insofar as you have the ability to personalize your interactions with people, it goes a long way, I think. I think that's a really good approach. Tien, thank you. Good to have you. Welcome. So, how many people do we have on right now? I can never tell. Don, how do you tell how many people are in the chat? Hey, Thomas. Welcome. Monique, you see 13? Okay. Yeah, I don't have my own stream up, so I can't really tell. For concurrent viewers, it says 24, but I don't know if that's how many people are in the chat or not. 24 in the chat? Okay. Interesting. Hey, Barb, how are you? Just watched John talks about channel. He mentioned your channel beautifully and your coverage of Caroline's story. Yeah, yeah. I don't know who that is, but if you have a link, Barb, put the channel in the chat because I'd love to go see what he's up to. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys telling me. Yeah, I think on my end it says concurrent viewers, but I'm not sure if that's the same thing as number of people in the chat. But Barb, coming back to what you just mentioned, it's kind of crazy how like there's definitely a web, there's definitely a community of people who kind of all know each other, right? And like I hear from a lot of people who watch Old Me Living Better. So if you know Mike Bayer, which I'm sure everyone in this chat knows Mike Bayer, he's amazing. And he's been really awesome to me because one of his first videos that went really viral for him, he included a link for one of my videos in the description, and I got a lot of traffic from that video onto my channel. And and then Mike and I, we stay in touch through DMs on school. Um and working with Alexa as my coach, now she and I stay in touch, and I get to participate in her community, and she's popped into my live streams. Same thing with Rob and Don. And Don, yeah, he found me through old Mike. And then obviously we're in a lot of the same communities in school. So there's a lot of cross pollination. And what you find is over time, people all tend to know each other, and they get to know each other, and they hang out in the same places on the internet. And then you start to form relationships and bonds, and you get to know each other. So anyways, I say all of that because it's just a really cool thing on YouTube that I didn't really expect to happen. So I really like it. Yeah, cross pollination is beautiful. Barb, how's everything going on your channel? Stavros, the Curious. That's a great name. Hello from London. Hello to you as well. Again, more UK folks up in the chat. Slow week, but going for it. I like it. Great attitude. Follow the sun journey. Yeah. Met many friends and mentors who've become my friends. Yeah, exactly. And one of our community members this week, she's getting a visit from somebody from YouTube. Like they're actually going to be they're going to be hanging out physically together. So they're going to go off and do some things and probably shoot some video and post to the channel. So it's cool. You get to meet people. And one of the things that's really amazing is, I don't know if you guys experience this, but for anyone making videos, Do you have people in real life, friends, family, children, parents who are really invested in what you're doing on YouTube? Like, do they ask a lot of questions? Are they fired up about it? Do they watch all your content? For me, the answer is no. I've got my girlfriend who supports me. She lets me do this crazy thing that I'm doing. And then every now and then I'll get a text message from my mom. She'll be like, "Great video, Ty." And I love that. But beyond that, I don't really have many people in my life that understand what I'm doing on YouTube. They don't really know what it's all about. They don't watch the videos. They don't understand the community or the mission that I'm working towards. And they don't really understand how it's an actual business or a job. But when you integrate with people on YouTube, they know all too well what this whole thing is about. So that's what's really great about it is you get to commiserate with people, you get to share successes and wins with people. And it's great when you have a video that takes off and someone that you haven't talked to in a few weeks reaches out to you and says, "Hey man, I just saw your video. It's great. Good job. Congratulations on all those views." Because they know exactly what that feels like. So it's just really good to get people that feel what you feel, that know what you know, and you then start to connect with them more on a personal level. Aha, Steve again, UK. All right. Yeah. Tian says, except for my husband, not really. I don't I don't want to show anyone my content. So that's another great question. Do you guys share your YouTube channels with your friends and family? Do they even know that you're doing this? Because I didn't tell, well, I think I told my brothers really early, but they didn't care. I mean, they cared, but like whatever, no big deal. I don't think I told my mom right away. I think I told her probably a couple months into doing it. And I've told my friends, but again, they're like, it's just like, okay, cool, that sounds fun. But they don't really ask a ton of questions. But that's normal. I feel like everyone has that experience. Now, if and when your channel blows up and you're making good money from YouTube and and you figured things out and you're like, production quality is good, then I think you probably will start hearing questions from the real people in your life. Like, hey, how's YouTube going? That kind of thing. But it is kind of funny, right? Steve, with your wife's stealth YouTube appearance. That's funny. Yeah. So Don, I love this. So do you guys know the little old lady, Carolyn? I made a video about her yesterday. And what's exceptionally fun about her is that her kids don't know about her YouTube channel. And I don't know, what is she at, like 15,000 subscribers? Probably more. She's crushing it. She's getting brand deals. She's going to be monetized. Like, she's just so good at YouTube and she's got such a great story to tell. And her kids don't know about her YouTube channel. And they were the ones that weren't really super supportive of her moving to France to begin with. So, like, the kind of twisted part of me is like a little bit gleeful that one day they'll find out and they're going to be astonished by what she's accomplished. And they're going to be, what's the expression? They'll have egg on their face. I think that's the expression. Yeah. Yeah, we hear a lot of really interesting stories from people on YouTube who are doing really interesting things. Yeah. 14.6 thousand subscribers. Let me show you guys her channel because I think it's really just a testament to what being purpose driven can do. And whether you're even into French culture or not, I would encourage you to still check out Carolyn's channel. So the short version of her story is she moved to France 2 years ago, after her husband passed. She had a little inheritance that she acquired, and she put that all towards a mid 19th century stone home in a rural village in France with really no plumbing, no heating or air conditioning or electricity or power, no internet. And the selling point for her was that the roof didn't leak and it had a huge garden in the backyard. And she's a gardener and an herbalist, in addition to being having a experience with 18th century, 19th century French cuisine translation. So she started making videos a couple of months ago, and her channel blew up. It took off. She's getting all of these subscribers and views. And she's telling these really great stories about her adventures in France. And then she had a mistake. She deleted her channel. It was completely gone. She lost everything. All of her videos were gone. All of her subscribers were gone. So you can imagine what that's like. I would have I would have packed it up and called it a day. Yeah, she uses a walker too. Um, but she's like, screw it. I'm just gonna make a brand new channel and I'm gonna repost all of my videos. And she started growing the channel all over again. It didn't go viral the first time like it did the first time around, but without without a single complaint, at least I haven't heard a complaint. She's like, I'm just gonna repost, I'm gonna carry on like nothing ever happened. And she got interviewed by another YouTuber, and that interview got over 400,000 views, and now her channel, as a result, is approaching 15,000 subscribers. And you guys, this is over just less this is like 4 or 5 days. And she's 76 years old, right? And I share this story because, 1, she deserves all of the exposure she can get, but 2, it just shows you how resilient and determined people can be. And she, in my view, she sets the bar for what success can look like when you're not focused on views and when you're not focused on the algorithm, because the only thing she is focused on is delivering her message in the most compelling and passionate way possible. Like she breathes this stuff, like she bleeds this stuff. And she's got a vision, she's got a mission, she's working towards something. And I think for a lot of people, even people midlife like me, oftentimes we don't think that far out ahead. Like we don't have this like higher level north star that we're marching towards. But it's just super impressive that for her, where she is in life, that she's got this like really defined thing that she's striving towards. And she's using YouTube as a bit of a vehicle to help fuel that. So there are just so many lessons to be drawn from her story and what she's working on. And that's why I can't stop talking about her. I think people I even tell like my friends in real life who are like my age or younger. Keep talking about this 76-year-old lady because she's just so inspiring by what she's doing. Hey Nick, welcome, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier, Nick, this idea of doing YouTube in a vacuum on your own and how challenging it can be. And so that's why I think community is really, really important. And that's why I will always shamelessly plug my school community. Yeah. Monique says, I would have cried. A bottle of wine, started again. Quitting is not in my vocabulary. Yeah, but I think, that's a great take. I think for a lot of people it is, you know? I think for a lot of people, even minor setbacks can throw us off and get us in a bad headspace. And we convince ourselves to just give up and throw in the towel and try something else. It's really the people who are so hell bent on making something happen that they don't care what gets in their way. And I think it's a rare person that you meet that has that quality. I don't think I have that quality. I hope I can build that quality. I hope I can follow in Carolyn's footsteps because I want to be someone who's that purpose driven and who's that unafraid to just keep pressing forward. Yeah, thanks, Nick. It was good to have you on there. That was really fun. I really want to do more of that because that was my first time being on someone else's live stream, and it was first time being on a panel of other YouTubers. And I love Rob and Alexa. Like I've known them now for a little bit. They were really the primary influence for me to get started. And I know Brian G's been around forever, so he's got a lot figured out. He's a really great person to learn from. So, yeah, it was fun. And thank you for being there. It was really cool to have you in the chat. Uh Thanks, Nanad. I appreciate that. It's so weird how the super chat formats on the screen funny. In the regular chat, I can see it, but on using Ecamm, it doesn't really format it correctly. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is such a great point. When you quit, you're quitting on yourself because no one else really cares if you quit, right? Yeah, it's pretty profound and deep. Yeah, that's one thing I keep telling people is, the only way to fail at YouTube is to give up. If you never give up, then you will, by nature, by design, always find small incremental ways to get better. How are we doing on time? I think we're over an hour and a half now. So for anyone who's joined recently, the purpose of today's live stream was just to be a chat, a casual conversation on anything anyone's stuck with respect to getting started on YouTube. And again, speaking from my 10-month novice experience vantage point, I will do whatever I can to help answer those questions or point you in the right direction, give you a resource. But yeah, that's what I was trying to be helpful with and just letting people know what it's like to get started. If you're stuck at the starting line or if you're in the first few months of your journey and things aren't going quite well, I can maybe give you some inspiration or motivation along the way. Yeah, keeping going is the hardest. Here, here. And I've had my moments too, by the way. And you know what's funny is like maybe when you watch creators' channels, you might not know this because when you watch their videos, they come off so well in their videos. But oftentimes what you don't see unless they share it is behind the scenes, they may have been working through lulls or periods of time where they're just exhausted or burnt out or they want to give up or they want to quit. And I'll be honest with you guys, earlier this year, I want to say shortly after I got monetized in like February, I hit a wall. That was right around the time where I was having a hard time posting twice a week. And I think for maybe like a good 6, 8 week period, I was like, man, this is rough. Like I'm having a hard time with this. But luckily I stuck with it, right? I didn't give up. I did post some low effort videos. They didn't do well, but at least I was showing up and trying to stay consistent. And eventually I got into a better headspace. I was reading some books that helped out. And I saw some other creators talk about burnout, talk about the dip. And it really just helped me to think a little bit better, more clearly, and just remember what my mission is and what I'm going for. And to not get bogged down in all of the other million other things that you can get distracted by when doing YouTube. So you can definitely work through those dips. And, in fact, you have to work through those dips if you want to make it and be successful. And I think you have to anticipate and know in advance that with all things YouTube, with all things that are long term, progress is never linear. Oftentimes, you don't see the efforts of the works that you're putting in for weeks and months. And so, part of the process is one, knowing at some point in the future, you're going to find yourself in a dip and you're not going to be prepared for it. So, the question is, how do you then deal with that mental headspace? How do you combat the feelings of self doubt and talking yourself out of this thing that you've been working on. So prepare for that if you can, right? Understand that it's going to happen. And it's going to happen many, many times over a long career of trying to do YouTube. It's not like you hit one dip and then you get out of it and then everything's smooth sailing forever. There's always going to be different times along your journey where you second guess yourself, where you don't feel like you're good enough. And that's all part of the process. And that's where growth comes from, I think. Agree or disagree with me in the comments about that. But it's those challenging times where we grow and we learn more about ourselves and where we build resilience. And then when you come out the other end, there's less pressure, sigh of relief, and then you might find that things are feeling a little bit better along the journey. So that's my little tangent on that. Barb, thank you. I appreciate you for being here. And Barb, I've known you for many, many months now. We've been in the comments quite a bit, and yeah, it's just great to see you here on the live stream. So Nick, yeah, Nick's been around, right? I've burned out several times over my 10 years as a creator. I've got it figured out now though. Okay, cool. Give your permission to take breaks. Okay, awesome. So Nick, if you have a way of packaging your your protocol for when you burn out, I think that would be really helpful. Maybe you've already done that, but I think a lot of people would benefit from that because well, one, it's probably different for everybody, like how to manage and how to cope with that. But maybe that's the one thing people don't talk enough about on YouTube is like working through and dealing with these lulls. And people will make videos on these topics and they'll recommend books and they'll recommend mindset shifts. Um, But, yeah, I feel like there's more opportunity for more people to talk about these topics. It's something that's near and dear to me because one, like I just mentioned, I've just recently worked through a lull, but I also talk to people in my community all the time who feel defeated or they feel run over or they feel exhausted. And so, it's an ongoing conversation. So I would just say for anyone out there who's feeling that way, number 1, know that you're not alone. You're not experiencing this exhaustion by yourself. You're not in a vacuum. There are many other people out there who are periodically going through all of these dips. And so you're in good company. And I think the best thing we can do is lean on each other and try to find common ground with others who've had problems progressing or staying motivated or feeling focused. And that could be a way of getting through it when you have someone who's like your support or your crutch, those kinds of things. All right, Jen, thank you for being here. Good to see you. Thomas is asking, what platform do I use for live streaming? Um, well, hey, Thomas, thanks for the question. I use Ecamm Live. That's what we're looking at right now. It's pretty sure it's Mac only. There is a subscription for it. I pay $20 a month for it, and I've been using it for my last 6 weeks, 5 weeks worth of live streams, and I really quite like it. It's pretty simple and easy to use. There are, of course, free alternatives like OBS, which is open source, but I have found in my experience that OBS is a little more challenging to get familiar with and to get set up. Something like Ecamm for me was a little bit more intuitive and simple. So, yeah, that's what I'm using right now. But I will say, if you're interested in live streaming, number one is you can get started straight away with just the native live streaming platform that's built into YouTube. You don't need any extra software to do it. That's how I did my first handful of live streams was just with the basic native YouTube stuff. But I do like Ecamm and I do like the idea of dedicated streaming software because the other benefit to it is you can record long form videos through Ecamm and like if you have maybe some images or slides or some information that you want to present through Ecamm, you can record that locally on your computer. And as long as you get it, recorded in a good take, then that relieves you of having to do a whole lot of editing on the back end potentially. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Nick, this is something I say all the time as well, is like figure out how to detach your mood, your feeling of self-worth from the numbers in the YouTube studio. Because if you see a bad performing video and you take that as a personal reflection that nobody likes you and nobody wants to watch you, then you will quickly spiral into this like, I suck at this. I shouldn't do this anymore. I'm going to give up. But that is its own challenge that people have to, I think, deal with as they progress on their YouTube journey. But that is such an important thing. Yeah, it's definitely challenging, Jason. I agree. So Nick says, I do full presentations on this at conferences, big on sustainability. Most only chase views, but it's important to be strategic about the long nature of YouTube. Yeah, that's something I'm really trying to get my wrap my head around because I've only been at this for less than a year, and I can it's hard for me to really understand that it's like, hey, there's going to be I got to do this for many years, right? Um, a lot of people I think expect quick results, and I think that's unrealistic. And until you can dial in systems that facilitate your content creation in a manageable, sustainable way, then a lot of people, including myself, will get started. And right out of the starting gate, we will just sprint. And eventually, that sprinting leads to exhaustion and burnout. I tell people all the time, don't sprint, just jog. Like, jog at a pace that you can keep indefinitely. And then, if you find that you have enough energy for a short sprint, then do your short sprint. But don't stop after the sprint. You got to come back to your jog. It's kind of like the metaphor, if you will. Yeah, Lauren, agreed. It's so hard posting and posting and posting and not seeing growth. Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people that's the life that they have on YouTube. But as long as you're doing two things. One is as long as you're being intentional about trying to get better and understanding where you need to improve, that's hugely important. Sometimes I see people who will post the exact same style of content over and over and over and over again. It's like banging your head against the wall, right? Without making an intentional effort to get better. So as long as you're out there trying to learn and trying to grow and trying to implement things that you're learning, that's really important. But the second thing too is sometimes channel growth is stymied because there's a lack of focus or there's a lack of clear direction or there's a lack of who am I helping with my content or what purpose is my content serving? And a lot of people struggle to wrap their head around that notion of if I want to grow a YouTube channel, my best chances of success are tied to me probably helping other people with something. So that would be a question I ask to you guys in the chat is, if someone off the street were to ask you, who does your YouTube channel help? Do you have a good answer for them? Like, can you just rattle that off your tongue? Or do you have to like think about it? Or do you come back and say, well, I make videos about like the trip that I went on to Iceland where I played golf. Like, okay, cool. That's awesome. Like it's lifestyle, it's like vlog maybe or like travel. But is that video for you or for somebody else? And so I think the moment we start to put other people before our own interests in a way, that's when people will start to come to our channels and want to hear us more and want to learn from us more because they can trust that we're putting other people first. So anyway, that's my ramble on that. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Don mentions is the packaging, right? Easily some of the most important things to focus on is the packaging. Even like a mediocre video can get good traction with good packaging, a good topic and good clear title that sparks some curiosity and then a good hook that gets people to be like, "Oh yeah, I really want to watch the rest of this." So those are the things I think newer people uh, should work on, but maybe only after they start to get clear on like the direction and focus of their channel. Yeah, and Steve makes a great point too, because this is something I struggle with. Is how do you how do you teach people how to grow on YouTube when you yourself have not actually grown on YouTube? Right? It's a valid question for me, and there might be other people out there that want to start a YouTube channel on smart investing strategies, but they themselves are not the best investor, right? So how do you speak from a place of non-experience? It can be challenging. And that's why I tell people all the time, and I think it's kind of cliche at this moment, but don't try to speak at a level that you're not capable of speaking at. Don't pretend like you're the professor when you haven't even taken the undergrad classes. Just speak from your own experience and what you've gone through and the transformations that you've made, and hopefully that's helpful to others. And if you can distill that in a way where there's tangible lessons to be drawn from the story, then more power to you. And then I think for someone like me, where I'm growing this channel, kind of documenting, like Steve said, what I'm doing in real time and just trying to relay it back to maybe an audience that's a few steps behind me, that's a really good way of building trust and community, because I'm not getting on camera and presenting and saying, yeah, I'm the authority on YouTube growth. Like, make your thumbnails exactly this way, it'll blow up your channel. Like, I could never say that. And I don't think I ever would. But, unless I experienced it, right? Unless I actually cracked the code on something and I was, like, really confident it would work for everybody else. But the best thing I can do is just say, "Hey, here's what I've done on YouTube. Here's the way I've tackled it. Here's been my strategy, and here's, like, the results." And maybe that's helpful to you as someone who's starting out, or maybe it's not. So, speaking from a place of where you're at and trying to help the people just a step or two behind you, I think is a really great way of building trust. I think I'm a little behind here on the chat. um, yeah, exactly. This is what I mentioned the other day. And I full transparency. I stole this from Alexa. She put this in a video many many months ago, where she was talking about being like a fifth grader and speaking at the fifth grade level, but speaking to the third and fourth graders. Right. I think it's a really simple way to conceptualize this idea. And a lot of people struggle with their own authority. Like, I know really smart people on YouTube who are they struggle to like they struggle to speak in a way that exudes confidence and authority, or coming from a place of being a subject matter expert, because they're very humble and they're modest. And I think in some ways, a lot of us take for granted the knowledge we have or the experience that we have. And what I've been doing YouTube for 10 months, right? And I've acquired all of this knowledge. But part of me thinks that everybody knows everything that I know. So I really have nothing to teach at the end of the day. I know that's false, but my instinct, my gut tells me that I know all of this stuff about YouTube, and chances are other people know it too. So why would I even bother teaching on that topic? But what we really need to realize is that most other people don't know what we know. And everyone doesn't have the experience that we have. So don't sell your knowledge short, right? Don't sell your experience short. And always trust that with YouTube, there's always going to be beginners. So if you're ever in a lull for what videos you should be making, you can always revert back to, how do I help a beginner? Like, put yourself in the beginner's shoes for a moment and try to understand what's their problem, what's their pain point, where are they stuck, and how can I help them? And what you might find is that that content comes out so easy for you because you've been there, you've done it, and you've talked about it a lot. And so, you've got a really good handle on the new beginner experience, the struggles, the pain points. You can make some content around that. And because beginners are the widest audience, meaning there's like more beginners than there are experts, there's a good possibility that that will touch more people and that could bring in more people to the channel. Everyone knows that. Oh man. Yeah, but not everybody does, you know. I talk about thumbnails all the time, which means either I'm speaking to new people all the time or some of the content that I've created on thumbnails doesn't reach everybody. So, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be new folks, new audience coming in. So, I think we're coming up on 2 hours, and I can't believe this is the longest I've ever done a live stream. Now I kind of know how Rob feels, although his are like 3 hours. I don't know how he does it. So I think we're going to call it here. I'm going to go work on another tutorial, I believe, and yeah, maybe grab a bite to eat. But I just want to thank you guys for being here and for asking the questions and for the lively and engaging conversation. It's been really good to hear from you guys. Let me see if I've missed anything really quick before we jump. I think we're good. Any final thoughts or questions? Anything that we didn't cover that is on your mind? No? Yeah, Nanad, see you in school. Appreciate it. Nick, thank you for being here. Appreciate your wisdom as always. Thanks, Don, for hanging out, for being a badass moderator, keeping everybody in line, kicking the riffraff out. Although I don't think I have any riffraff yet. Maybe someday I'll get some riffraff. Yeah, Barb, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Jason, Nisha, Monique, of course. Well, you guys have a good one. Enjoy your weekend, which starts tomorrow. For some of you, it's already Friday. So, yeah, have a lovely weekend. I'll talk to you guys on the other side. And yeah, see you soon. Bye.